Hello and welcome. Let's talk Civivi today. So this is the Civivi Savant. It is one of several knives that Civivi has right now that have this kind of partial metal, partial wood look and functionality going on. It is a bearing flipper. This is the wood version. There is a G10 version. I believe there's a carbon fiber version as well of this knife. Around 70 bucks. Just a everyday carry type focused knife. This is size kind of in the bug out range. Here's a bug out to compare. My standard Griptilian, which is a larger knife. Let's also put up a Rake P108, which is a longer knife. So that's where we're at in the size range on that one. It's a very comfortable knife. Sits nicely in the hand. It doesn't have a lot of contouring to the handle, so it's not, it's not designed around hard use or anything. This is a pull out of your pocket, slice something with it, stick it back in. Blade is very kind of thin stock, flat grind, so it is very slicey. I like the profile in that it is not too swept back, which makes this a good utility blade. They've left the choil at the bottom here rounded, which means if you're cutting string or something like that, it's not going to catch on there. A lot of times when you're cutting string on a knife with more of a pronounced choil, something like your bug out, that string is going to want to catch right there and it won't slide up the blade as well. Civivi has avoided that problem that way. Nice sturdy liners, full steel liners, nice durable wood on this. Construction is pretty good. There's not a lot to not like about this knife. The only real thing that from a durability concern, again, I harp on this a lot on different knives, but the size of the lock face. Again, pretty small on that. I'll compare it to another Civivi here later in the review because it is worth comparing and seeing the differences there. This is lefty friendly. You can switch this out. I will say when you open it left-handed though, there is still a chance that your thumb is going to fall on that frame lock. It's not as good as some of the other Civivis that have come out recently in that regard, but they have considered lefties there. Nice machining on the pivot bolt there. Edge retention on this is very good, around 375 in my sharpness, or in my edge retention test. So nothing to not like about there. It's just a matter of how durable is that going to be. It's worth comparing the Savant, this knife, with the VOLTAIC, this knife. They are very similar. Similar wood handles, similar construction with the frame lock there, similar blade material, similar blade size and length and thickness. The main differences are the VOLTAIC is a bit heavier because it has this full metal wrap all the way around the back. So that does add some weight to this one. The other major difference is, again, I harp on this a lot on this channel, the size of the lock shelf. So you can see the Savant has this very small lock shelf that doesn't create a lot of lockup between the blade and the frame lock. The VOLTAIC has a much larger lock shelf, so this is going to last a lot longer, be a lot more durable than this knife would just from a long-term perspective. So better construction on this one. This is lighter. I prefer this one. I'll put both the links for these down in the description, but again, this is kind of my recommended one of the Civivi frame lock folders of this size. Let's get into some disassembly. I'm going to go ahead and do the disassembly in this video there since I've got through this kind of content period so quickly. There's very little not to like about this knife. Just a solid little knife. Here is the pivot bolt, which is a T8. There is only one other bolt in the bottom here, which is also a T8. Pivot bolts, or the pocket clip bolts, I believe are T6s. I'll get to these here in a moment. Let's see if we can get that pivot bolt out first. I think it's going to come out. I'll get that away from the frame lock. There's the pivot bolt. It is a bolt. It is keyed into that wood there so it won't spin when you disassemble it. Let's see, so we got the, well, that's interesting. So they've gone with bolts on the inside of the liner as well. Different, I have not seen that before. So here's the two internal bolts. I'm going to keep them separate because I don't want to mix them up with the external bolts. So these are T6s, which is interesting. Because the non-structural bolt is a T8 and the structural bolts are T6s. Not sure why you would do that, but they have. There is the side plate. There's the little lanyard spindle thing. There are the standoffs. Bearings are recessed into both the liners and the blades, so that leaves a little bit more thickness on the blade, which is nice. They have gone with an external stop pin on this, and since the overall height of the knife there is relatively low, that kept them from leaving much room on the lock face. You can see the stop pin rests right there, so that's why they had to make the lock face so small. Not necessarily a decision I would have made, but there it is. There's your stop pins. Put those in the tray. Let's take off the pocket clip so I can get the full thing apart here. T6s on the pocket clip as predicted. That comes off that way. On the whole, this knife came apart pretty easily. I've had some issues with Civivi quality control in the past. This is not one of them. Everything's good on here. Again, I won't take off those standoffs because that's the last little piece, but everything's pretty solid. No relief hole on the inside of that liner, but again, it's steel, so probably okay there. So there is the Civivi Savant, just kind of a nice little EDC. Again, not particularly sturdy on the lock, but I think it should be functional. If you like small, kind of narrow knives, need kind of a light duty EDC, that is available. Check it out at Amazon. Check out the other Civivi frame lock folders with that wood look on them. There is one I like better, which is the VOLTAIC. So that review is also coming up. Enjoy your adventures.